hot man wants you to go with him. Y'all are broke. Go. But when he said blue means you and she showed up and her hair was dyed blue, we want to punch her in the face, but we love her. Darius yearning. Oh my God. I'm crashing out. Hi besties, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Lauren. I'm a lover of all things books, home, and beauty. In today's video, this is a highly requested one by all of my YouTube besties and all of my Instagram besties. We are talking about Zodiac Academy. Yeah! I'm so pissed because when I read Zodiac Academy, I wasn't really in my YouTube bag. Like, I talk about it in a couple of my reading vlogs because I didn't want to let go of the series. This series took me, I want to say 6 months to finish, but I also read the prequel series, which is The Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac, and we'll get into all of that. But this video is going to be me ranting about it. I'm gonna do another video where it's like convincing you to read Zodiac Academy, spoiler free, and my reading order. So this video is not gonna be that. So if you have not read Zodiac Academy, attention, attention, attention baddies. If you have not read Zodiac Academy, I'm telling you as your big sister and your bestie, do not watch this video. Don't do it. I don't want it. No, I don't even want to hear it. You're not allowed. You're not allowed. You have not unlocked this level. If you guys play video games, level locked. You're locked out. You don't get to unlock this level yet, okay? But eventually after you guys finish it, you get to come back here and yap with me. So don't fret. I am going to be making a video on spoiler-free, my reactions, convincing you to read the series, and what I recommend as far as the reading order. And I'm going to break down why without giving any spoilers away in the next video about Zodiac Academy. This video is not it. So my besties who haven't read it, you're gonna have to wait on it. I do not want to spoil anything for you guys, and as your book bestie, I want you to have the most spoiler-free, fun, enjoyable, time while you read the series, because I did, and I want all of you to have it. So that video will be coming. It'll be spoiler-free, and I'm gonna be yapping about how you need to read the series. Now that I said that, spoiler, 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 spoiler. Spoiler will be in the title. This is spoilers. Do not continue watching this video. Put it on your playlist, save to watch for later. Okay. Get out of here. And if you have read Zodiac Academy and you want to know my thoughts, then keep on watching. So now that our besties who have not read Zodiac Academy are out of here, we gotta talk. First of all, I am so gagged and obsessed with this series. This series is, I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to say it. It feels blasphemous. It feels blasphemous because I have so many God tier series. I have so many God tier series. But I literally, not to be dramatic, think about this series every day, once a day. I am Tori Vega. She is me, okay? So the way I'm gonna structure this video, let's just preface, because we all know I'm ADHD. Hi. Hey, are you new here? That is what you're gonna get in this video, okay? So if you're new here and you've not watched any of my videos, just bear with me. If you're triggered by ADHD talking, you're gonna hate this. But if you are also neurospicy like me, or you can follow crazy thoughts, you're gonna love this. I hope you love this. But I do wanna talk about the structure of this video because we know, as we all know, I can get off topic. Especially when I'm very, very passionate about something, and I am very, very passionate about this. So the structure of this video, I am going to go in the order of what I read this. Now, when I go in this order for my girly pops, this is not my recommendation of how you should read it. This is the recommendation that I followed, and there are pros and cons to this order. And when I make my video, I'm gonna explain that. But I followed Jamie's reading order. It is That Girl Reads. I will put her at right here. I am obsessed with her. I've talked about her in several of my videos. She knows all things Zodiac Academy. I'm pretty sure she's read the series several times, and she is just a genius when she knows what she's talking about. I do have a little tweak that I am gonna tweak with this order. Whenever I come out with my recommendation, because there's something that made me want to die, and we'll get to that later. But other than that, she did not steer me wrong. She is everything. She's a queen. I love her content, and she's one of my favorite creators personally to watch. So go follow her if you're not following her already. But I did want to preface that when I talk about all of these books, I'm gonna follow that order. Okay, so I have the screenshot on my phone, her order, and this is the one I followed because I didn't know anything about Zodiac Academy. Okay, when I follow this, I'm not gonna be like book 1, the novella 0.5. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna talk about how the journey was for me, because baby, one thing about me, information flies out of my head, but I know every Lil Wayne lyric ever because it's still in my freaking head from middle school. You know what I mean? You know how your brain just holds on to stupid information? Ask me a plot point about a book, or ask me about a book I'm reading, and I'm like, I don't know, but yes I do. Yes I do. So that's why I have to kind of present this info to you guys in a chaotic way. Okay, now that we yap, this is what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be showing you guys how I read the entire series, and I'm gonna be reacting as if I'm reacting for the first time. And I might have to Google the plot points to some of the books, because again, when I read this, it ran all together. I can't be in book 1, this is what happened. In book 2, it just ran all together. I blacked out when I read the series, okay? So I might have to Google and pause here and there, but we're gonna start in order. Okay, in saying that, that was the longest intro known to man. Yeah, but I had to say all those things. Okay, so we're gonna start with The Awakening. The Awakening, number 1, when we meet our twins. I was painting my bar downstairs, and I just got off a hockey book. I wanna say it was Icebreaker. And I was like, you know, I'm in the mood to read something fantasy, but something like skanky, but something like easy to turn my brain off to, because I was just going through a lot of things. So I found Zodiac Academy, The Awakening. It was on Audible. I thought, I'm gonna buy the book. I'm gonna listen to the audiobook, right? Hey, I start reading, I had to pause it. I had to pause it because I said, hey girl, I need to immersive read this series. I got hooked and sucked up immediately. First of all, we meet our twins, Darcy and Tori. You know which girl you are. You're either a Darcy girl or you're a Tori girl. I'm both. I love both my girls. I love both my girls. They are my babies, they are my soulmates, they are my everything. Okay, to be clear, I ride for my girls. I ride for my girls. Nobody say anything bad about them. We can tussle, we can fight. But if you guys know me, and you do, if you're not new here, you know I am Tori Vega, she is me, I am her. Tori, even though they're twins, even though Tori and Darcy are twins, when they're in the mortal realm and they're mortals and they're in their baddie era and they're in their we gotta steal money era, because we're just these struggling little orphans that, you know, we're living in the slums, we're slumming it together, but they're girly pops. Tori, even though they're twins, she is older sister vibes. Okay, she is. So my first impression of Tori, I meet Tori and she's this badass motorcycle girl stealing a motorcycle. She's on her way, she's like, ooh, riding the motorcycle, being a bad like she is. I'm gagged. Okay, I'm gagged. Wig snatched. All of my favorite FMCs have something like Tori has, but she is literally one of my favorite FMCs in the whole world, okay? And I feel like if you're a Nesta girl, you're a Tori girl. Hey. Yeah, if you're a Nesta girl, you're a freaking Tori girl, because she's our girl. Like, we love her. We want to punch her in the face, but we love her. So anyway, stay on track, Laurin. So I meet her, she's stealing a bike, Darcy's climbing out a window with some money, and we're like, what's going on? And they're in Chicago, right? I want to say they're in Chicago. And I remember thinking, what the hell? Like, I'm really into this story, but like, I didn't sign up for some whack, you know, slum life in the mortal realm. I'm trying to get out of the mortal realm. I'm trying to escape. One thing about me, I'm going to escape the real world into a book. That's why I love reading. That's why reading is stunning. So I was still hooked in the story, but I'm like, I hope this is fantasy. Like, everyone said this was fantasy. I thought this was Harry Potter meets, you know, vampires and like all kinds of stuff. Like, what's going on? So after Orion shows up, immediately, one thing about me, I was like, who is this sexy man? Who is a sexy man? And I already knew. I'm like, oh my god, compulsion. And that's another thing too. This would be a great intro to fantasy, but if you read more serious fantasy books, like, you already know. I already knew the TS, pick it up. I was like, this man's a vampire. This man's using compulsion. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god, hot. And immediately, I just love Darcy in her little PJs and blah, blah, blah. So in book 1, I was just like, yeah, he literally said you guys are princesses. He literally said you guys are going to this world. Jump in. Stop acting like you're shocked. What, you're shocked? You're shocked? Why are you shocked? Jump in. The hot man wants you to go with him. Y'all are broke. Go right now. Right now. So anyway, then they go and they get sorted into their little houses and they get their powers and they have all of the elements. Tea. I just loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I literally, one thing I love about Zodiac Academy, and I'm gonna say this, and I gotta stay focused because there's multiple points we gotta hit in this journey, okay? There's multiple things. We're not gonna cover the prequel series. I'm gonna have to do a separate like video on that because it's gonna take forever, but there's multiple points I have to cover. What I love about Zodiac Academy, everyone's like, they say their things, and some of those points are valid, okay? I get it. It's like trashy reality TV, I just will never dog on the series because one thing about me, when I'm reading, I wanna love all of the characters. I love that the Twisted Sisters, literally, they humanized all their characters so much. And because 2 sisters wrote this, it is so immersive. Like, you just immerse yourself in the freaking series. And I'm absolutely obsessed with that. I loved that I feel confident because I'll read a lot of fantasy books and I'm like, I feel confident that I could wield all the elements. Yeah. What? Why? You think I could? Oh, so you think I couldn't? Yeah, I definitely think I could. And the reason I think I could is because the way the Twisted Sisters wrote the magic system and the way they explained everything and broke everything down as if you were the twins and you were going into this world, Solaria, and you were like, what the hell is going on? You didn't know. That is my tea right there. I love finding things out as characters find them out. I do not like knowing things when the characters don't know. And the way the Twisted Sisters wrote this and the way I felt like I was there. I was at Zodiac Academy. You know what I'm saying? I was Tori Vega. I am Tori Vega. I loved it. And I loved it. So I immediately loved the magic. Immediately loved the world. Immediately loved the world building. It was so fun. I could not, it was like a drug. I was like, let me do another line of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need it real bad. Real bad. So whenever they get initiated into their houses, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And Darcy meets Seth and she gets thrown off of Air Tower. First of all, it's a bully romance, okay? Okay. And I had only ever read Devil's Night series, which is a bully romance. And so I didn't really know anything at this point about bully romances. I was like, okay, you know, whatever. I haven't read a ton. It's not my favorite trope ever, but yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I'm like, oh, these people are buttholes, especially when we meet the heirs and I'm like, I was like, yeah, they're but I was like, Darius is hot. That's why I know I'm Tori. Okay? I am Tori. Yes, I immediately thought he was hot. Okay? Sue me? Don't care. But whenever Seth throwing Darcy off Air Tower, when he threw Darcy off Air Tower and she was like, period, I don't give a that was everything to me. That was when I was just like, I love Darcy. She's so fragile. She's so cute, but she's still a bad. You know what I mean? And then, let me get my, hold on. I gotta get my special edition. Okay, this was a moment because this is literally one of my favorite scenes. This is my special edition book. By the way, I'm pissed. I ordered this from King's Hollow and I wanted to order all the books, but they were sold out. So I don't know if I'll ever get the rest of the books to make a mural for this book, but whatever. Anyway, I have this book. It's a gorgeous edition, by the way. Don't know if you could get it because all the freaking editions are like sold out. My Twisted Sisters need to send me the whole series. I will give my firstborn over to get the full series so I can have this mural, okay? All I have is poor little Diego on here. Anyway, this is the scene I'm talking about. This is the scene I'm talking about! Ah! Yeah, we all know the scene. When Darius burns off all of her clothes. Oh, I was on my knees. I was on my knees. I was on my knees. I was like, yeah. Oh my God. What do we think I'm starting to like this man? When he burned off all her clothes, you guys, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I was like, yeah, I'm already in love. Yeah, what do you mean I'm immediately obsessed? Yeah, I'm obsessed with this man. I was so gagged. And then when I got this special edition, I was just like, oh my God, when he burns off all her clothes, I literally can't. And this is good. This is good that we got this book so it can keep me on track. That, off the top of my head, also off the dome, like I said, I can remember things and they're in there, but sometimes I have to have something that triggers my memory, you know what I mean? Off the dome, I can remember some things, but we're gonna have to have this as a refresher, and I have all my Zodiac Academy books, so I might bust one open or have to Google real quick because I can't remember what happens in each book. It just all runs together. But yeah, that was a moment where I was like, yeah, something's wrong with me. But I also knew that way before, you know what I mean? But I will just say, that was a turning point for me. I know a lot of people that have read Zodiac Academy are like, it's so toxic. You're valid in your reactions, babe, but like, I love it. So yeah, I fell in love with Darius from the moment the story described what he looked like. I was like, yes, I love that man and he hates her, but he doesn't hate her because if you know, you know. Anyway, when he burned off all her clothes, it was it for me. When Seth pushed Darcy off, yeah, I was pissed, but I immediately knew Darcy and Orion were gonna get together. Like, the tension's been there. So the tension there, it was doing it for me. Professor Student, it was doing it for me. All right, oh my God, like, look at this fan art with them. Like, I just knew. Also, if you read any kind of fantasy or romantasy, you know fated mates. You know how that is. Let's see. Seth. Okay, so Seth I wanted to slap upside the head. I wanted to punch him in his throat. I wanted to beat his real bad. I was not a Seth lover from the beginning. I know a lot of people were, and a lot of people are more, you know, they saw the foreshadowing. I didn't know, but all I know was I wanted to slap him. You know what I mean? Like, Tori, she's so much tougher than Darcy. Like, not, they're both equally tough, like whatever, but like, sweet Darcy, how are you gonna do that to Darcy? When he cut her hair off, and when Max, and I hated Max too, because I was like, you little freak. I was like, I don't even like Max. Who is this freak show? Hold, pause. We'll get there. But I'm telling you guys, this is how I was reacting. And whenever Darius drowned her, this is how sick and disgusting and twisted I am. Or tried to drown her. He didn't drown her. I wasn't mad. Okay, I was mad, but I was also like, why can't these two crazy kids work it out? Because everything that Darius had to go through, that's the thing, okay? I was not a Seth lover or a Max lover or a Caleb lover at first. I was always a Darius lover at first. Always. Yes, always. Okay. I always loved Darius and Tori and Orion and Darcy. Always, obviously. But Darius, I never hated him. I never did. And whenever he tried to drown Tori, I just literally like, yes, I was upset because I was like, that's my girl. relax. But at the same time, I was just kind of like, but literally his brother's being threatened. Like, he doesn't want to be like this, okay? Like, he doesn't want to be like this. He doesn't want to go through this. He's abused physically and mentally. This is how he was raised. It's not his fault. Something I love about Darius's character is as we go throughout Zodiac Academy, watching his development, and Tori, they're everything to me, because it's like, you can be raised one way and you can be brought up, not me getting deep for a second, you can be brought up one way, and it's not your fault that you were born into a certain family that has morals or views or thought processes on certain things. But at some point in your life, you're gonna come across a path, this has got so serious, you're gonna come across a path where you have to choose for yourself what you think is wrong and what you think is right. And I feel like in our generation, I feel like, depending on whatever generation you're in, but I feel like when people try to talk about Gen Zers, they're like, oh, they just don't give a shit. They just whatever. But it's like, what I love is I feel like we think for ourselves and we choose what's right for ourselves. And sometimes that looks like evaluating the things your parents told you or people you looked up to that told you, and thinking, do I really think that that's the truth? Do I identify with that? Do I think that that's the way I want to live? Do I think that people deserve to be treated this way because of X, Y, or Z? And a lot of people's morals across all ethnicities, all cultures, all parts of the world, parts of this country, they have different views on things. And so whenever I got to know Darius's story and how much of a douche his dad was, don't even get started, we'll talk about lame Lionel, you guys. I just resonated with him because I'm like, dude, like, yeah, he's a yeah, he did some questionable things, but like, he's a sibling. He's an older sibling first. Me, an older sibling? Okay. So first of all, I resonated with Darius from the jump because of that. I was irritated with him. Obviously, you know what I mean? Just like we get irritated with ourselves, but I loved the character development, and because he was brought up that way and he still stood up for what he believed in. Was it a long journey? Yeah. Is he perfect? No. Well, to me he is. But I love that. I love that. So I love that from day one. Okay, book 2, I feel like the twins kind of buckle down and they're like, you know what? We've been through some shit, but we're about to freaking kick and we're about to literally hit him where it hurts. Oh, you guys want to piss us off? We're gonna stay here. We're not leaving. I loved when they played the prank. I'm pretty sure that happened in this book. I literally, again, like I said, I'm going through the order I read them. I read 1 through 3 and then we'll change directions. But basically, number 2 is when they start messing back with the heirs again, because book 1 ends on Darcy getting her hair cut off. Okay. And the falling star situation. Also, Geraldine, I didn't even like mention, when I first met Geraldine, I'm not gonna lie, she got on my nerves. She was hilarious though, because I'm sorry, the fact that she was like a royalist and she was like, yes, I like, you guys are the rightful queens. And also I listened to the audiobook while I was reading. So her voice, oh my God, the narrators, they're a husband and wife duet, and they did a stunning, beautiful job. I'm so obsessed with them because the Geraldine voice lives rent free in my freaking head. And every time she would sing her song, oh my God, it had me gagged and it was hilarious. Yeah, I love Geraldine. I completely forgot to mention that. Loved her buttery bagels. It always had me craving bagels. And also when I imagine her in my head, I imagine her as this little chicken from Chicken Little. I know she's not a chicken. That's how I imagined her. I don't even know why. Like, I imagined her as that little chicken from Chicken Little. But yeah. Anyway, love Geraldine. Love the way she was. My buttery bagels. Like, I just loved it. It was so funny. But anyway, in the second book, it's kind of like when the girls get their revenge and they're like, listen, we're gonna get our revenge. And when Seth has fleas and they make everyone think that Caleb likes Pegasuses, oh my God. Also, I loved the flirtation between Caleb and Tori, and I loved that dynamic throughout the books. And we'll get to something later on, but I didn't like Caleb with Tori I didn't like enjoy it. I liked the flirtation and stuff, but like, I knew her and Darius were gonna be endgame. I was just waiting on it. And that was one of the longest slow burns in this series. I was obsessed with them getting their revenge. And also I loved the dynamic between Darius and Orion, because I feel like their bond was so pure and so beautiful. And I love Orion and his broody professor situation. But the more I learned about Orion at this point in the series, the more I fell in love with him, and I fell in love with Darius even more. And I fell in love with the twins even more. And I was like, they're so bad, so fun. They're getting back. They're not letting the heirs knock them down. They're coming back and they're like, try it. And also them learning about their magic and the nymphs and stuff like that. Also, I didn't know who Fallen Star was, and I did not see the foreshadowing. Now I do, obviously, but I didn't see the foreshadowing of them being phoenixes, because at this point I was just like, I don't know, because they were like, what powers could we be? What are we? What's our order? Da 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 da. And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm just here for a good time. I had no idea. So I was just obsessed. So book 2, obsessed. Okay, so book 3, I just had to pull up bullet points because, like I said, sometimes I need something to trigger my memory. Run it back, run it back, run it back. What I remember is them finding finding out they were phoenixes. Okay, I remember that, and I remember the heirs being menaces, and I remember them finding out that Lionel's a piece of even more. Okay, that's what I remember. But I want to touch on some basic points. So they find out about the shadow magic, but because they're phoenixes, they don't get compelled. So completely forgot that, but remembered that now. I can't remember when he says, because it doesn't say on here, it's just like random breakdowns, but when he says blue means you. So let's just talk about that, because I know that was in book 3. I know, when does he, let me Google.
When does Orion say blue means you?
Number 3, when he said blue means you and she showed up and her hair was dyed blue. Ah! Yeah! Yeah, the blue means you just took me out. So at the end of book 3, you find out, they've worked on their magic skills. They had Hell Week. They had to pass the reckoning. Diego at this point. Let me touch on Diego. Got on my damn nerves. Also, boy, take that hat off. We know why he didn't take the hat off. I know. It's his my grandma knitted it and my dead granny's in there and I'm a nymph. Okay, spoiler alert. If you're watching this, it's all spoilers. I knew his broke a nymph. Okay, I knew he was. And also, I wanted to beat his because I'm sorry, you're getting jealous of the twins hanging out with the heirs and Orion would bully him all the time and I was like, period, as he should. Diego got on my nerves. I knew he was shady. And I'm sorry, but the twins, out of the goodness of their heart, they're being bullied by the heirs all the time. And yeah, you might have a little slack on you because of Orion and people are mean to you. Why'd you have to do my girls like that? Like, why did you get so mad when, like, at the carnival scene? Oh my God, first of all, the carnival scene. Ooh, yum, 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 yum. Again, I don't remember if it's in 2 or 3. I know it's in one of those books. But when Diego gets pissed and kisses Darcy, disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. Diego just got on my nerves real bad. And I was just annoyed at Diego. But then later on, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We'll get there. But at this point in my reading journey, I wanted to beat Diego. Okay, so I'm trying to think, am I missing anything before we move on? Because we're about to get into the nitty gritty. Because other than that, I was just having a good time. I felt like I was a freaking student at Zodiac Academy. I wanted to eat Darius's face off. I loved Tori, but also wanted to beat her because it's like the source situation. Oh my God, don't even get me started. If you guys know me, you know I love vampire romance, okay? I've been in my vampire romance era. Like from Blood and Ash, love, 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 love. Why, when a vampire feeds on a human or another magical creature, it's just so hot. Can anyone explain it? Why is it hot? I don't know, but I loved that. I loved Caleb having Tori as his source because it made Darius so mad, and I love a jealous man! I love it. So yeah, I loved that aspect. I loved the twins getting into their magic. I loved them finding out they were phoenixes. And I loved the plot, how it's like every time something good happened, something bad happened. Like, I just love that. I loved that because it kept me on my toes. It kept me stressed out. My hair was getting gray at this point. Or so I thought. So at this point, after books 1 through 3, I was like, oh, yeah, it's stressing me a little bit. I didn't know stress. Okay. So anyway, after books 1 through 3, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure we go right to the Ruthless boys because that's what Jamie's order is. Yes, so after books 1 through 3, it doesn't end on too much of a cliffhanger. You guys know how it ends. And at this point, Jamie, her reading order was like to go to the Ruthless boys, which is books 1 through 5. So I'm not gonna cover anything on that, but if you know, you know. If you read the Ruthless boys, which is the prequel series, it kind of helps you avoid spoilers with other characters later on. I'm so glad I did that, but I'm not gonna touch on Ruthless boys. I can do an entire video on Ruthless boys because I freaking love that series. Ryder Draconis, Dante. Yeah, I love all of them. Love all of them, but you guys know I love a basilisk man. Anyway, I did not want to go to the Ruthless boys. It took me a little bit to get through the Ruthless boys because I was so obsessed with Zodiac Academy. So we're just going to pretend like we're not going to talk about that. But I did do Ruthless boys and I will stand by that. Whenever I come out with my reading order, you guys will know. But I'm so thankful I found Jamie's video because like if I didn't, I would have been so pissed if I didn't read the prequel series. And when people are like, do I have to? Yes, you don't have to. You're not going to get it. You're not gonna get it. You're gonna read stuff and you're not even gonna get it. It's just gonna go right over your head and you gotta read it. So anyway, yeah. So she says to read the Ruthless boys and then she says to read Shadow Princess. I'm not gonna touch on Shadow Princess a lot. You know why? Because I have an entire video right here. It's basically, I think it's like 30 minutes or so of me literally crashing out. I say specifically, I almost lit this book on fire and used it as kindling or something because baby I did. Yeah. So I'm not gonna say anything about Shadow Princess except for a few sentences and then we're gonna move on because I have a lot to say about the following books. Because this is when we lose our Clara, that can kick rocks. I hate Clara. I hate her so much. I hate Lionel. I hate Clara. I hate Orion's freaking mom, Stella. Oh my God, I hated Darius's mom at this point when we didn't even know. But the point is, I'm not going to touch on all of Shadow Princess because I have a review / rant. That is what the video is called. If you guys want to check that out, go check that out. That is the only video I want to say of Zodiac Academy I have on my channel. Now, obviously, we're here. You know what I'm saying? But if you guys want to see that, go check that video out because I literally crash out. But all I'm going to say is, I hate Clara. Orion, I wanted to beat your... I get to the end of Shadow Princess. I'm so pissed off that I checked. So the next video on Jamie's reading order is Origins of an Academy Bully, which is a novella. Do I have to read that? Yes, you always read the novellas. And then The Awakening as Told by the Boys. I'll give my thoughts on my order yet again, but I had 2 books until I had to read, like a miniature book, and then the first book Told by the Boys, till I got to read Cursed Fates, which Cursed Fates, dare I say it's one of my favorites in the whole series. I think it's literally probably my favorite book in the whole series. Besides the last one, we will talk about it. It's my favorite, so I'm gonna spend the most time probably talking about that one. I don't know. I have a lot to say about all of them, but I literally was so shook. I looked at the reading order and I was like, son of a... I literally just went through, I read 5 books of the prequel series, and at this point, I didn't know what I know now. And I was so shook, and I was like, oh, I'm so pissed. So I get done, and I was like, I cannot read a stupid novella. I don't give a about Origins of an Academy Bully. I don't give a to read the first book. I want to keep reading. I'm pissed, because if Orion's dead, I don't give a I don't care. I literally do not care about the rest of the series. I thought that this crash out was bad. My bigger crash outs are coming, okay? So what I did is I literally peeked into Cursed Fates just to make sure Orion was alive. I cheated. I did, because I was unstable, okay? So anyway, if you want to see more on Shadow Princess, go check that vlog out, because that was like fresh on my mind when I had read it, because I was like, I have to make a video about this because I'm literally shook to my entire core. So if you guys want to see that, go check that out. Okay, so the first thing, Seth, because in Shadow Princess, he was holding the relationship of Orion and Darcy like over her head because he finds out about it, Again, that's all in my Shadow Princess video, go watch that. So we find out that, because they were gonna do like the ritual shadow thingy, whatever, because Clara sucks and Clara's back. You know what I mean? So we're pissed because Bree and Darius were gonna have their divine moment because the stars chose them, and she was like, I'd rather be alone forever than be with you. One, she's about it. I love her. But also, I wanted to throw her across the room. So again, I'm not getting any of that. I have to keep myself focused. But Cursed Fates, when she hooked up with Caleb because the stars were trying to push them apart and she didn't know why she was, I was actually pissed at our girl. I was so effing mad at Tori. I wanted to throw my book across the room. I was sick. Because as I was explaining to you guys, Darius had been through so much dude, and he finally realizes it's not his fault he was born into a family. It's not his fault. He loves you. He's obsessed with you. And also at this point, keep in mind, I had just read, because I checked to see if Orion was alive, because I was literally sick, but I had read The Awakening as Told by the Boys. So if you've read The Awakening as Told by the Boys, I didn't even talk about that, then you know what Darius thought about as soon as he saw Tori. You know he loves her, okay? Just like you know Orion loves Darcy. It gives us insight as to you're like, ooh, he really liked her. Like, you know what I mean? It gives us that kind of insight. So obsessed with that. And whenever I was reading Cursed Fates and Tori hooked up with Caleb, I was so sick to my stomach. And then Darcy's mad at Tori because she's like, why weren't you there? Lance almost freaking died. Seth had to save him. Like I'm crashing out. People are like, I was reading Zodiac Academy and then I got to Shadow Princess and I just didn't want to continue because they killed one of the main characters. Don't talk to me. I don't even want to explain. Y'all piss me off. I was also pissed off. But one thing about me, I'm stubborn and psychotic. Just like Tori. So yeah, I was so pissed off. And I was like, oh my God, my baby Darius. I was so mad. But also I was so sad for Tori because I love both of those characters. They're like they're my soul characters. Like I'm so obsessed with them. So at this point I was just like, but also I was sad for her. And Caleb, then I was sad for Caleb. And then I was like, this is when I started to really love Seth. Because I was like, oh, I said, like he loves her. And I love that so much. So absolutely love that aspect. My favorite thing, well, multiple. This is literally like my favorite book of the series. One of my favorite things about this book is Darius yearning. Oh my God. The way Darius brought her coffee and would run with her, but like far behind her. Whenever Orion made Tori join cheerleading, first of all, hilarious, iconic, I'm obsessed, I'm gagged, I'm literally sat. And she was in her little outfit and she's like, I'm a bad cheerleader. Love. Love. And also her stealing his treasure and he's a dragon and he's so possessive and then wearing the necklace and like, I just am obsessed with them. I'm so obsessed. And just like the hate I love the yearning. The yearning just, they're everything to me, and not to make it all about Tori and Darius, but like they're literally everything and more to me, okay? Not to be dramatic. And the cave scene with Caleb and Darius, that, hey now, this is what dreams are made of. At the same damn time, hiding from the stars, God bless. I just, ate it up. Ate it up. Like, I cannot explain to you, I want that exact scene bottled in a little potion, and I want to drink it every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I devoured it. Yeah, devoured it. Absolutely obsessed. This entire book, I loved the entire series, but all the shit that hit the fan in Shadow Princess, even though I was still upset, but the number one thing that stuck out to me in that book was Darius and Tori being star-crossed, and literally him yearning, and her secretly yearning for him, but she was so pissed, and she's so stubborn, and she's stubborn, okay guys? That's one thing I literally hate about myself, is how stubborn I am. But when I read about my favorite characters who are also stubborn, I'm like, but they're just girls. They're just a girl. But then with myself, I'm like, I hate on myself so much. I talked about this in my mental health video. Go watch that if you guys want more on that. But I just loved it. I loved it. It was frustrating at times, but I am Tori and she is me, and so I loved it. I ate it up. It was like a drug. Like, I wish I could bottle that freaking book. Okay, now that we kind of got the highs out of the way, the lows, whenever freaking, well, first of all, Tori and Darcy were beefing. I hated that. Like, literally hated it. But Orion being in Darkmoor Penitentiary and lying about their relationship made me sick. Sick to my stomach. Did it need to be done? Yeah, absolutely. Of course it did. But it literally made me sick to my stomach. And I was sick. Also, finding out about Clydenius, the star. And Lavinia, like, oh my God, I hated Lavinia. I hated Clara. I hated them all. I wanted to kill them all. The amount of rage I had for Lionel and everything that they had gone through, and like the fact that all that hit the fan, and like Darcy was so hurt. I will say, again, back to the good. Cursed Fates was so good because even though there was so much bad that had happened, there was so much good. And the yearning is my number one. But I did love how Seth and Darcy's relationship developed. I love them so much. My babies. I love them so much. I just love them so much, and I ate it up, and I literally just devoured it, and it was everything to me and more. So then I read 5.5, which is The Big Ass Party, and Seth on the Moon. These are novellas that were next again in Jamie's order. And let me say this. If you're gonna skip any novella, skip Seth on the Moon and read it later, because you're gonna read it in Live and Let Lionel. Like, you're gonna read it in that little collection of those stories. I thought it was funny, but because I knew the inside, I was like, okay, Seth, we know you love the moon. And at this point, like, I still love Seth so much, and like, there are things that we're gonna get into Seth later, but I just was so shook that like, I didn't care about the novellas. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I always read the novellas, but Geraldine and Max, The Big Ass Party, that was a really like, I just remember loving Geraldine and Max. I loved Geraldine and Max because I loved, at this point, we get to know Max a little bit more, and Geraldine, I'm just obsessed with her. Like, I'm a Geraldine stan. And I loved that they had their little moments, and I loved how she would always call him a sexy salmon or whatever. Like, that was funny. But again, when you're in the trenches, if I had to skip one of the novellas, I would have skipped Seth on the Moon, because I would have rather read it later whenever I was going through hell and back, which we're about to get into. Let me see, I'm looking at my books right now. So Jamie's reading order, you read 6, 7, 8. So these run together for me. So I'm gonna have to look up some of the plot points, because again, I'm gonna be talking about like all of them, but I'm trying to keep it organized by book. So Fated Throne. In Fated Throne, this comes off of Tori having to spend her summer with Lionel, because I forgot, oh my God, whenever he like makes her, like they do the little bond thing, whatever. I was so pissed, but I kind of loved Tori torturing Darius. Like, he was so sad, but I loved her torturing him a little bit, because it's like she had her humanity switch off like a vampire, and I hated it. But Tori's such a badass, and she's so strong, and she always is a sacrificial lamb, and I just absolutely love that. So I did love that aspect of the book. You know what I'm saying? I did love that. It hurt me, but I loved it. Trying to find the Imperial Star. Okay, so the stars, like Clydenius, the bad star, who was like bad and betrayed all the other stars. Do you know what I imagine the stars in my head as? The Mario ones. You play Mario Kart or Mario Brothers, that's what I imagine. Like, whenever the stars are like, the stars are looking down and blah, 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 the only thing I imagine is like that. Like, to me in my head, one, I was pissed because of what they did to Tori and Darius, and Tori was like, middle fingers up, I don't give a shit. I love that, but it also cracked me up because whenever they would mention the stars, my brain is like that. Just like I imagine Geraldine as the little chicken from Chicken Little, I imagine the stars as the stars from Mario, and it just literally cracked me up. So I just had to say that because every time I would mention the stars, it's like, that's what the stars look like to me. Also, Lionel's dragon form, it looks like this ugly little dragon. I hate him. I hate him so much. Yeah, the stars. And then Orion, it says Orion is freed from Darkmoor Penitentiary and becomes a crucial part of the team working with the Vega twins and the heirs. As much as it pained me that Orion was like, I lied and like I'm so depressed again and da-da-da-da, I loved Orion and Darcy getting back together, like the process of that, and I loved Seth trying to make him jealous, like sending him pictures. And again, I don't know, I can't Google this exactly, but I'm like, I can't remember if it's in this book or not because they all run together to me, but this is when like not only I went from liking Seth, but I went to being obsessed with Seth, and also the little inklings of like him trying to call everyone his moon friends. Like, he's just, oh my god, I literally just loved Seth so much. And I also loved the little Easter eggs we got of him and Caleb. That is what I was talking about earlier. That is the longest slow burn in history, okay? The longest slow burn in history, but the payoff is just delicious, stunning, gorgeous, and everything and more, and I was obsessed with it. So absolutely love that. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to like not miss things here. Oh, the throne scene? I'm pretty sure, I don't see it on here, but the throne scene with Darius and Tori, and that might be in the other one. It might be in Cursed Fates. I can't even remember because, again, like I said, they run together. But you guys know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I just, yeah, this whole thing is just going to be like being obsessed with Darius and Tori. Oh my god. Okay, I crashed out. I forgot that was in this book because, again, all 6, 7, and 8 like all go together for me, and then 9 is like separate in my head. But dude, when Darius made the deal with the stars and where he was only gonna have like a year to live, this is when my major crash out started to happen, okay? It's funny, it's hilarious. If I go back, I haven't watched that video since I posted it, but if I go back and watch my Shadow Princess crash out, I'm like, oh my god, she's so cute. That poor little girl. She thinks that really hit the fan, right? No. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the vlog, and I've yapped. That's why I'm gonna have to Google and get key points to keep myself focused, because when I freaking tell you guys, I genuinely was so sick. I was sick. I could feel it. And the Twisted Sisters are twisted. Also, if you're reading Zodiac Academy or you read it, you've already read it, which you shouldn't be watching this if you haven't read it. I'm getting on you. You have to read the author's notes. Because every time I'd finish a book, I would read the author's note. I always read the author's notes and the acknowledgements. But I would always read it, and the Twisted Sisters were like, isn't that fun? We hurt you, didn't we? Their notes are hilarious, by the way. Just had to mention that. I was so sick because I felt it. I felt it in the air. You know, when it's like, it's in the air. I can smell it. I smelled a storm coming. I smelled it. I literally, like when you walk outside and you can smell rain's coming. That's a country thing to say, but when you walk outside and you can smell rain's coming, I literally smelled in the air that Darius, something bad was gonna happen, and I knew. And I had read, I mean, what is that book? That's book 6, that's Fated Throne, so you're up to book 6 in this series, and I knew, because I had already read Ruthless Boys. If I know the Twisted Sisters, and I think I do, some crazy shit gonna happen, and baby, yes it did. So, Tori's strength, they were separated because Tori was being an because Lionel had his compulsion and his stuff over her, and Darcy had to grow and fight her challenges. That's what the Google says. Okay, so at this point, again, honorable mentions, I kind of covered them all. So we're gonna move on to Heartless Sky. You guys, Heartless Sky, I don't even have to Google because I was ready to DNF the mother effing series, and I'm not being dramatic. I've only DNF'd one book, which was a series, ever. I've talked about that. I need to get better at DNFing. Nothing is wrong with DNFing, but I just don't DNF. I'm a control freak, I'm psycho, and I'm a thought daughter. I have to know. Like, you know what I mean? I have to know things. My husband, I tell him everything. Babe! Okay, I had to recruit my husband. I tell him everything. And I know I talk about my husband a lot. This is my best friend. I am a man hater to my core. I try not to say that because I love everyone. This man right here, written by a woman. Written by a woman. I'm obsessed with him. This is my best friend, and I know I talk about him all the time, but he knows everything about every book I read. So I tell him everything because I can never keep thoughts to myself. And I always try to keep spoilers off. So throughout my Zodiac Academy reading journey, you knew enough to know what was going on. Like, you might not know, like, all the plots and what the worlds are called, but, like, you understand enough. Okay, so I was just telling them, I'm explaining all my thoughts. I get to Heartless Sky. So this was when Darius died.
Yeah.
Yeah. How mad? Tell them what you did. Because, okay, you guys, when Darius died, first of all, I made this series last, okay? And I remember when it happened, I didn't even cry, because I cry all the time in books. And when literally Darius died, I was so pissed off I couldn't even cry that I literally threw the book. And then I literally told him, because he knew enough to like Google, so tell them what you did.
I looked up to see what happens to Darius because she couldn't find out, so I had to find out for myself that he still lives.
And I didn't tell him to do that.
No, but I had to find out myself and try to have a poker face so she wouldn't figure out that he was still coming back in a way. But I had to figure it out for myself so I could know what was going to happen, because she was tore up. Tore
up from the floor up. But like, I was so upset that like, I didn't tell him to do that. I never tell him to Google anything. If anything, have you seen that trend where it's like, you know the trend where it's like, let me see your phone, and it's like, here you go, and then it's like, let me see your Kindle, and it's like, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah. I'm like that with him. Like, he, not because I tell him all about like the sex scenes, the violence, the plot, the cringy stuff, but my books are my books. Like I'm very weird about it. But he was so stressed for me that he Googled on his own.
That's how stressed she was. Yeah, it was
bad. Then remember when you Googled it and he did have to have a poker face. Like he literally would. I looked over at him
because you were sitting right there and you were like,
yeah. And I was like looking at him and I'm like, this is Googling. And I said, are you Googling? And you were like,
don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me.
And I was like, don't tell me, don't tell me. And then I was like, I don't give a if they bring him back or not. What I say, I'm not gonna finish it anyway, or something
like that, or you're not gonna give a damn either way. Yeah. I'm like,
and he was literally, I'm not kidding, because from my point of view, I'm being dramatic. Are you new here? I'm dramatic. That's how you know I'm so down bad, when my husband is Googling things because he's like worried about my mental health because I was so pissed off.
Yeah,
so
she was shook.
I was shook to the core, and he knows that Darius is up in my top boyfriends. Who would you say my top boyfriends are?
Susanne, Darius, and the guy from the Taming series.
Joey.
Joey.
Yeah.
That's
Joseph
because he's got blonde hair, and she usually doesn't like blondes, but
no.
He's an acceptance, I guess.
It took me 6 months to read the series.
And she was pissed, probably almost a month before you even read anything.
Because I took a break.
Yeah,
because that's what I thought. I was like, I can't remember.
Yeah,
I took a break, and I was so mad. I remember he was like so shook. That's how you know it's bad. He is my witness. He was worried about my well-being.
Yeah, she was. That was before Taming 10 too, or Taming 7.
Releasing 10.
You
like Taming 10.
That was the worst.
Yeah, that was the worst.
That was the worst. Hold a candle.
That doesn't hold a candle to my crash out. But I was pissed. I was very pissed. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Love you. Okay, sorry. I just had to call in my husband. But yeah, I was so pissed off. Like, so many things happened in... I don't even know what book we're talking about. See, again, they all go together. So many things were happening. The corrupt government, Darius's struggle to figure out what he wants for himself. Also, Tori literally being his dad's, like, freaking slave at this point. Like, awful. When does Diego die? Diego dies somewhere in these books, because at this point I can't even Google the plot to all these, because they, again, like I said, they ran together. When Darius died at the end of Heartless Sky, I genuinely thought I was going to DNF the series. It took me a full month to pick up Sorrow and Starlight because I did not give a Then you go directly into Sorrow and Starlight. Okay, here is, when I make my video of my reading order, it's gonna be less chaotic, and like, I'll just make multiple videos about Zodiac Academy. But Jamie's reading order was to do 6, 7, and 8, like back to back to back, and then read Beyond the Veil. We all know, if you're watching this and you've read Zodiac Academy, you know that Darius comes back because Tori's a bad and goes and gets her man. At this point, you guys know since day one I was a Darius and Tori stan. So I was so crushed that, like, getting through Sorrow and Starlight, there's a reason it's called Sorrow and Starlight, okay? Because it's nothing but sorrow. It's so freaking sad. And, like, I couldn't even enjoy it because, like I said, I didn't look up any spoilers. I just looked this up on Reddit. Sadness, grief, sadness, grief. Tori discovers voodoo and yanks Darius back to Solaria. Darcy breaks her curse and adopts an overgrown Pomeranian. Oh my god, I forgot. Okay, I forgot about the Shadow Beast. This is what I imagine the Shadow Beast to look like. The Turning Red, I love that movie. If you haven't watched that movie, it's so cute. It's so sweet. I literally cried at that movie. It's so good. But that's what I imagine the Shadow Beast to be. I don't know why. Like, why a red panda? But that's just all I saw. So then when like Darcy transformed into a shadow beast and then it separated from her or whatever, oh my God, that was like, that stressed me out. That pissed me off real bad. That made me so freaking mad. And I hated that. I hated all of it. I hated all of it. I hated Orion having to be Lavinia's like skank, you know what I mean? I hated all of that. I hated it. I hated it. I hated Darius being dead. I hated, like I said, Tori. Oh my God, I will say this. Caleb and Seth were the only thing that carried me through. The only thing I gave a shit about. And that is the longest slow burn in history, yes. But like, I was so down bad that's why it took me, like he said, it took me 3 months to finish the last leg of Zodiac Academy. Because it's not that they weren't good books. It's that I was going through so much shit. I was just like, ah! But the scene where Caleb and Seth are hooking up and Darius is watching them from Beyond the Veil. Oh my God, I can't breathe. But here's where I was pissed off. Jamie's reading order is to read Beyond the Veil after Sorrow and Starlight. A lot of shit going on. A lot of stuff is happening. And let me see if I'm missing any key points. Thanks to Stella skinny dipping in a blood cocktail. Oh yeah, I really loved that whenever Stella sacrificed herself for the greater good of her son. I was like, okay, thank God, finally. I wasn't really tore up about it though. I was like, okay, bye Stella, see you never, because I'm sorry, you were a mom. Orion deserves better. He lost Pitball. He was ripped from Darcy. He went to prison. Like, okay, see ya, you know what I'm saying? Like, she could have stepped in way before that and saved Lance a lot of pain. I'm a Lance girly. I'm a Darius girly first. But I'm a Lance girly too. So I was kind of like, Stella, cry me a river. You know what I mean? Thank you for the sacrifice, but peace out, bestie. Anyway, someone said, lame Lionel continues forcing everyone to satisfy his praise kink. No, he really did. You know who lame Lionel reminds me of? It's somebody that is wreaking havoc in today's world. Corrupt government, read between the lines, you know who I'm talking about. That's who lame Lionel reminds me of. Anyway, moving on. Lance shows his undying love for Darcy through Lavinia's sadist kink. Seth and Caleb are sword fighting next to golden dragon vibrators. That was what I was talking about. Oh my God, and Xavier struggling. Everybody, I didn't even talk about that because I was talking about losing Darius and I was talking about how mad I was. That is another thing that literally crushed my soul into literal dust. The heirs mourning him, Tori mourning him, them just staring at his body. Guys, again, I was not okay. Everybody talks about Shadow Princess crash out. And again, I think the reason people maybe not talk about this a lot is because no one wants to spoil it for everybody else, but oh my God, that was so painful. Like, how are you gonna do that? And Tori was so mad, as she should be, but she was also hurt, and it's just like, oh my girl, I was sick. And Xavier, I felt so freaking bad for him. Like, he couldn't even enjoy his life because he's like, my freaking mom's dead. Oh my God, that's another thing. Hamish, Geraldine's dad, and the mom, I can't remember the freaking mom's name, Mama Acrux. I was so sick for them that they had to die. Like, seriously, guys? Like, oh my God, it was ripping my heart out. And again, that's why it's called Sorrow and Starlight. Max is trying to hide Jerry's bouncing Bettys from the world. Francesca, oh my God. Francesca couldn't get a hint and died for it. I did feel bad for Francesca, but also I'm like, you have eyes. You have eyes. Everybody can see how much Lance and Darcy love each other. Whatever. But also love her. She was a real one. Lavinia birthed a walking oil spill. Oh my God, known as Darius's half-brother. We will get to Therex. We'll get to him. Therex is my hear me out. Yeah, why? I don't want to talk about it. Therex is my hear me out. I don't care. I literally don't care. But whenever Seth would constantly talk about watching Lavinia give birth, that was so funny. See, I keep forgetting things, but then I'll read something and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember, like a freaking squirrel. So Darius gets brought back at the end of Sorrow and Starlight. So Tori finally brings him back and she's like, to death, and she gets her man. Okay, so after Sorrow and Starlight, was I happy? Yeah. But just like my husband said, I was so pissed off, irritated, mad, angry, stressed, sick when Darius died that it's not that I wasn't happy he was back, but I was in so much pain that I was going through it reading Sorrow and Starlight. Like, I was genuinely so pissed off, okay? So that's kind of how I was feeling. That's how my journey was. Everyone's like, oh, the Shadow Princess crash out. Maybe it's because y'all are Lance girlies and not Darius girlies. I literally was in so much pain. So then, on Jamie's next reading order, she has you read Beyond the Veil, which is 8.5, which is a novella, but it's a thicker novella, okay? I didn't give a rat's ass because after I finished Sorrow and Starlight, I knew Darius was back, so I'm like, why do I give a shit? as POV. I will say this, I loved meeting all of the characters that we had heard about, like the twins' dad, Lionel's brother that he freaking killed, Lance's dad, all of these characters. I really, really loved that, and I loved getting to see Darius yearn. But I will say this, spoiler alert for my reading order, I will tandem read. When I do my reread, I will tandem read Beyond the Veil and Sorrow and Starlight. I will, even though I know what happens. It's like that Friends episode when Joey's like, I'm gonna put the book in the freezer. It got scary. It got scary. When I knew Darius was gone, I was scared, I was pissed, I was sick, I was disgusted. Even though I will be rereading and I know Darius is okay eventually, I will have to tandem read it. I will stand by that because that is pain. That is pain, and that is cruel and unusual punishment, okay? And it's not okay. But anyway, I did end up loving it once I fixed my attitude because I'm such a mood reader that, like, that's another thing too. I wasn't even having fun because I was like, I'm mad. Like, when I get real mad about something, I'm just that way. Like my emotions when it comes to reading, not really in real life, but when I read, oh baby, I'm reacting all day long. And I was overreacting because I was effing pissed. So yeah, I would definitely highly recommend tandem reading it. I did not go through and pick all the chapters out. 9 million of people have already done that. So I will be following one of those people's orders of the chapters, and I will be reading it as like one book. I'll be tandem reading it. Just like in Throne of Glass, Empire of Storms, and Tower of Dawn, I highly recommend tandem reading this. It's the same situation because I do not care. I do not like green eggs and ham. And they do take place at the same time. So, oh, and then Live and Let Lionel. Again, that is just a cluster of novellas. So then Jamie's reading order, she said to read that before you read Restless Stars. I read that before Restless Stars, and I will say after I was it took me a minute to get through Sorrow and Starlight and Beyond the Veil. But once I got through that and I lived to tell the tale, I literally loved Live and Let Lionel. I loved all of the scenes. I loved all of the Easter eggs that you would get from Ruthless Boys. I loved all of it. And it made me so nostalgic. And when people are like, should I read the novellas? Always read the novellas, duh. But I was so sad to see it end that, like, finally when I got Darius back, I was like, thank God. I finally got to Live and Let Lionel, and I was like, okay, it's a good vibe. It's a good vibe. You know what I mean? And I loved it. I thought it was a great book. I still, like, the main plot was there, but, like, I still loved it. And I think it was the perfect book to read for Restless Stars. And Restless Stars, there was so much war, so much pain, and my only complaint about Restless Stars, it was literally everything and more, and Seth and Caleb devoured and carried in that book, to be clear. I will say, I feel like it was the longest slow burn, and I'm so obsessed with how that happened. And obviously a lot of other things happened in Restless Stars. Justice was served, we all know. But for me, I was so stressed that, like, again, when I go back and read it, it is literally one of my favorite series, probably if not my favorite series. I can't wait to reread it the way I want to so that I can experience all of this for the same time. But, like, I feel like Restless Stars was such a good ending. It just was so much chaos and stress, which honestly, it did a good job of making me want to reread the series again because I was so stressed with all the war and all the plotting, and the stars were about to piss me off. The little Mario Kart stars, they're about to piss me off. It was so much stars and not enough Caleb and Seth. I did want more Caleb and Seth, but overall, every book in the series I'm pretty sure got 5 stars. I think the only one I didn't rate 5 stars was Shadow Princess and Heartless Sky, just because I was pissed. I was like 4 stars, and then I think I went back and rated it 5 stars because this entire series across the board is all 5 stars. But Restless Stars, I will say I love how it ended. I love that we got our happy ending and we got to see everybody happy, and I love Therix. But I loved how Therix turned good eventually. Again, just kind of like Darius. Why I love Darius, because he changed, you know what I mean? And also, I guess just to wrap it up, because I don't really have a lot to say about each individual book and organize it, I don't speak like that. I will say this series as a whole is literally, like, up there with my God tier series. Yes, it's silly. Yes, it is unserious sometimes. Yes, it is funny. Yes, I know I see some people talk about plot holes. I wasn't, like, annotating out of this, like, with the plot. This was more of I was along for the ride, and it's so character driven that I loved it. I loved everything about it. I hated parts of it, but I loved that it made me feel. It made me feel all the emotions. I literally felt like all of these characters, I loved every single one of them. Even Washer, the little pervert professor, and losing Washer, losing Diego. Like, I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the Ruthless boys. I'll make a separate video on that if you guys want one. I loved the found family. I loved the Ruthless boys in Zodiac Academy. That's why I will always stand by reading Ruthless boys after 1 through 3. Like, you just have to. I just love it so much. I love the world of Solaria, and I still haven't read Darkmoor Penitentiary, and this is why. Because when I went through literally war and almost DNF the series because I was so heartbroken about Darius, I really have wanted to take a break, but I think I'm going to read Darkmoor Penitentiary, and then I'm going to read Neverkeep, or whatever the other one's called, because I'm not done reading the Twisted Sisters. I will read anything they publish. I'm so obsessed. I love the series, and I cannot wait to reread it. I just have been trying to take a breather because I finished Restless Stars, and like, I still am mourning it. Like, I'm still mourning it. I'm still getting over this book funk because it's such a good series, and it literally is like the loves of my life. I loved all of their characters. I love to watch them freaking change and adapt and, you know, come together. The found family in this series is just chef's kiss, and I literally just love the way the Twisted Sisters have their own group of characters. That's what makes this series really amazing, because the way that Caroline and Susanne write their specific characters, it makes it feel like it's real. It makes it feel like you're a character in this story, and I just love it so much. And anyone that's like, it's so many books, there's not enough. Like I said, I wanted more Seth and Caleb in Restless Stars, and I would have read literally 2,000 pages of Seth and Caleb. Like, I want more. I want more. I want to know Vela. Like, I want to read more about my characters. I miss them so much, and I cannot wait to go experience all of this for literally the second time. But again, just knowing what I know, I cannot wait to soak it up all over again. And even though, like, the end almost ended me, it was worth it. It was everything, and I just love the series, and I cannot say enough things about it. And I will be making more videos on this series, but I just cannot say enough good things about this series, and I love it so much. And Darius Acrux, he's in my top book boyfriends. And Tori, and just the Vega twins, and Lance. Like, I love all of them. I love the series. It is gold, and if you don't like it, that is your opinion. I respect it, and not everybody's gonna like everything, but this is literally a series that I could talk about all the time. And if you guys have a topic or a book you want me to talk about Zodiac Academy, I will. I might have missed things because, like I said, I remembered pretty well, but oh my gosh, it ran together for me for sure, because when I was reading the series, it's just like you black out. There's so many books. The books are so big. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger. But again, it's funny because the thicker the books got, the more I wanted more. Like, I wanted more of certain moments. But I just, like I said, I think the Twisted Sisters do a phenomenal freaking job at just immersing you into this world. All right, that wraps up this video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!